Hi, this is Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight Channel. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing
I'm
today?
doing great. Today's surprise topic is Mr. Rogers. Okay, so his real name is Fred Rogers, and for those that might not know, he had a really popular TV show in the 60s. He used puppets and he worked with kids, and he was well loved from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. And I had flashes to talk about him several times in the last year. And then last February, I actually went to Pittsburgh and I saw a statue, which I'm going to append to this video. It's a very odd statue, okay? It doesn't look like him. It's very chunky and very odd, but I got an immediate hit that we needed to talk about it, and it's taken us this long to get to it. So, yay. Okay, so Mr. Rogers, the rumors are going around that he was a sharpshooter in the military before he became a children's show host. Is that
hmm
true?
Yes, he was.
Oh, interesting. If you look up his history, it says, despite the rumors, that's not true, right? So he was
Yeah.
a sharpshooter?
Yeah. I mean, they don't want you to know his true backstory. One, because, well, they wanted to keep it more secretive.
Yeah.
But two, it also kind of would go against his image. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people think of him as this sweet, kind person.
Yeah.
So being a sharpshooter, you're not being kind,
Right.
right? So it goes against that image that they, that they have.
Right. Okay. Um, they also said that he went into like ministry work right after school. Like he was a very, quiet and pious person, that he started praying and going to church as a young boy, had a very quiet life, et cetera, et cetera. They wanted to cultivate that image of him. And so that's what you'll see when you
Mhm.
research him. Is that true that he was extremely religious?
Not really. I
Okay.
mean, he was, let's say, religious, but he was one that, was using it to have the benefits. A lot of people, if you're religious, I like nothing against you, but a lot of the churches, a lot of people that are connected to churches use it for the benefits.
Right,
They
right,
don't use it for the religious aspects because, like, we know people that they go to church because they know if they do that, they have a lot of connections because they're going to talk to people and then that way they can build up their social networking.
right,
It's not really about being spiritual in any sense.
right,
It's about who you know. And if you go to the same church, you're more likely to get business from them.
right. Okay. So he was an ordained Presbyterian minister. And so they, again, he got out of school and that's what he did. And what, the research would show is he had this crossroads, like, should I go into ministry or should I go into entertainment? And he chose entertainment. Is that a
Yeah.
true story?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Now, next point is he was a gifted pianist. Like he played the piano since age 5 and he got extremely good at it. Is
hmm
that true?
Yeah, he's decent. He's not like, you know, Mozart or anything, but yeah, he does have the skill sets of, being a piano player and he can play.
Okay. And then, so basically, when he went into school, he studied child psychology and development, and he
hmm
he thought at the time that kids shows were too aggressive, violent, and all of that. He did not want to have commercials on his show. He didn't want to sell toys or anything like, how now everything is like selling you something. He didn't want to do that with his show. Is that all true?
Yeah, but you gotta think he did it for he did it for psychology, but you gotta also think that's parent psychology. I don't want to have my kids watching something and have them come begging me for materials. So obviously, I would put on a show that isn't going to have all that, that isn't going to keep selling them.
Yeah.
So it was psychology that he was using to propel the show
Right.
forward. Like it, all shows are psychology in some way,
Right.
shape, or form.
Right.
He was just using it in a way that could benefit his show, and it did. It did propel him forward because he made those small changes.
Okay. So basically, what he did in his lifetime was all geared toward the show, even before
Yeah.
he had the show. Is that true?
Yes.
Because the show, I don't have anything in front of me, but the show started in the early 60s, but I think this was like in the 50s that he was like prepping for this. Now,
Yeah.
from what I looked at earlier, he did actually work in other kids shows or other TV based, things before he had his own show.
Hmm.
So anyway, so he had a show called Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and it was a very slow paced, very chill. And again, we got to think this is back in the 60s, so things weren't as crazy as they are now. But it was a very slow kid show, very popular. And he had this image of being squeaky clean. Like he'd come in to the room, he'd put his sweater on, take his shoes off, talk about what was going on, and
Hmm.
used puppets to kind of talk with the kids about their emotions and to teach them things. And it was wildly popular. So he had that
Yeah.
reputation. Okay. Did he deserve that reputation?
No.
Okay. Do you want
Like
to tell?
he, I mean, it's easy to come off as one way, right? It's
Yeah.
easy to propel yourself as being this awesome person, this clean person,
Mhm.
because that's what people see. So yes, he had to keep up that reputation, but there are things in the backgrounds that people don't really know. He was actually using it for what do you want to call it? Child trafficking.
Okay.
So it was a way to draw people in. People were propelled towards it. But with the great publicity of it, there did come tractions of the darker source too. Um, and it was kind of a cover up. I mean, you never think somebody that comes off as super sweet, kind, anything like that, if they're super nice, there's probably some ghosts in their closets, right?
Mhm.
There's something else happening because reality is everybody has a balance of dark and light. It's just how we are, right? So if somebody is more balanced on that super nice,
Mhm.
polished side, there's something going on the other side that's making them tip so that they're extra nice, right? It's not a nice balance. Like and no matter what, like there's always going to be a balance of positive and negative.
Okay.
Um, and so he used it. Now his point to do the show was to one, gain traction, help kids. That was his initial thing. But he knew that if he helped the kids, that it would lead him down a road of success. And just think, this is what time did it start? And it's still something that's so popular. They just made a remake.
Oh,
You
they
know,
did.
they made a whole movie off of it.
They
Yeah.
actually, yeah, they made a movie. I'm going to say it was like 7 years ago with Tom Hanks.
Hmm.
Is that the one you're talking about? And he played
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers. And right then again, I'm like, okay, that's suspect because,
Yeah.
a lot of these movies and shows, we see ads or documentaries about these guys. They're always trying to get ahead of bad publicity. They anchor into our subconscious how good that person really was. So don't listen to the rumors about them, right? Well,
Yeah. It,
yeah,
it does. They do play it. So you're like, well, he's such a nice person. He couldn't do that. Yeah, they could have. It's called playing you.
yeah,
Um, and a lot of people have that hard time. Even I do have that hard time once in a while. Be like, well, I've seen them do all this nice stuff. Like that can't be true.
yeah,
Because they do. They play on that sweet side to your human,
yeah,
right?
right.
So yeah, he did play into some really dark things, and he was able to because people trusted him. People had that, rapport of he is a sweet person. He would never harm us. He loves the kids. He's doing it for the kids, right? Not thinking like, hey, he just wants to make a living
Right.
in a bad way.
Yeah. Okay. So one other point that just came to mind about him is he was a vegetarian, supposedly. Is that true?
No.
Is that true? Okay, so that was his public persona, a quiet, religious, stay at home, play the piano kind of a guy,
Hmm.
answered all of his fan mail himself, which he may or may not have done, so he cultivated that image. So he used his show then as for child trafficking. Did he, was it a big network that he exploited? I guess, did he work with other people? Like, how did,
Yeah, he worked with other people.
yeah,
So he was basically like the puppeteer. He was the person that would draw him in, and he had other people that worked with him that
okay.
would do the dirty work, let's say.
Okay. It's very disappointing, I just gotta say.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And
I said, I mean, are we surprised? Like I said, when you see somebody that is excessively nice, excessively sweet, there's usually a reason for it. Either there was something traumatic that happened in their life that made them kind of suppress their negative side and, only want to be this positive light, or there's an alternative motive, which most of the time it's alternative motive.
yeah,
Not a lot of people have such a traumatic experience that it suppresses that darker side to us. And like I said, everybody has it. Most of us have a good balance of it. Like, I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I feel like I'm, negative today. It happens. We do have days. We have to figure out how to balance it back out. Okay, you started off negative. How do you get balanced back out? But we're talking about bringing in a negative side where he's hurting people.
right. Okay. Very disappointing,
Hmm.
and he's such a star in Pittsburgh still. Like, people go to the statue on purpose. One last point before we close. He went in front of the Senate in 1963 and basically made a pitch for PBS, which is the public broadcasting system, that the federal government keep funding them. And of course, because he had this reputation, supposedly, that's why PBS kept going. Although he might
Yeah.
have had contacts there that he was working with, right? So
Yeah. Well, you also have to think if the government funded it, there's another red flag.
I know, I know.
Because they already hire people to change up situations like with their
Yeah,
movies, so
yeah,
that way people think, oh, this is what's happening, when in reality it's something completely different. But because people have seen it this way, it's hard to change the brain to say that didn't happen.
right, right,
And that's why, like I said before in some of our videos, like I like to watch the fantasy movies. I like to watch that because they have more truth in fantasy because nobody believes it.
right, right. Okay. So basically, he basically used his whole public persona to lure the kids in for the network that they had developed there. What
Yeah.
about like before he went into TV, like when he was a younger man in the military, whatever, he was a bad guy then as well?
He didn't start off a bad guy.
Yeah,
He really didn't, because if you think about it, most people that go in were either forced to go into like the military or army. They chose to because they really had no other options, or they felt they had no other options. Um, but when you're in there, it changes you. I mean, just going through their training, it's supposed to brainwash you. It's supposed to change you because most humans can't go through what they go through. I mean, they prepare you for pain, they prepare you for battle. We're not really meant for that. So they change the psychology of the human so that way they can prepare for whatever they're about to go into.
right,
And some have more intense training than others, right? But that alone changes your psychology. Then, if you add on, if you've actually gone into a battle or war, not only have you seen other people, die in front of you, but you're scared for your life. And some people might not be scared. They might be like, I have to get this done. But it does change your mentality. That's why a lot of people that come back have a lot of issues. They have
right,
PTSD, they
right,
have fear of regular everyday life because their psychology is completely uncharted,
right,
right?
right.
So he was able to put on this front, but there's still a side to him that is broken because of PTSD. And most people, especially in that time frame, we didn't really talk about that type of thing. Like now it's more open. People have opportunities to go
Okay.
and talk about their issues.
Right.
But for him, it had him snap. And so he wanted a life where he didn't have to worry about that anymore. But that turned into him working for bad people, working with bad people to create a life that he was and famous. I don't know,
Yeah.
however you want to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Okay.
it created this lifestyle that he loved because people looked up to him. He had fans. He had the money he wanted. He had the life he wanted. But in the background, he was doing other stuff to maintain it.
Right. Right. Unfortunate. So,
Yeah.
the question just popped out of my head, which is awful. He was a sniper, so he saw people get killed all the time in his job,
Mhm.
and he actually caused some of the murders, you know. So I
Yes.
I gotta assume that affects a person, you know. I gotta
Yeah,
assume.
because one, they say it becomes easier for people because, they're from a distance. Like, they have video games out where, you kind of lose sight of this was actually a person because
Yeah,
one, you're from that distance. A sniper,
yeah,
I mean, they have incredible training. Don't
yeah,
like, I know I couldn't do that. But you also lose that traction of like that was actually a person versus, a dummy that I'm shooting at.
right, right. Okay, last question. Is he literally dead? Is he officially dead?
No,
What?
no, he's not.
Probably should have led with that.
You never asked the question.
Okay, what's happening there? Oh,
He is working underground with psychology, actually, with let's call it brainwashing methods. He was
mm.
successful at it.
Okay, yeah, he was. So, is he still in the same body?
No, he looks the same but different body.
Okay. Wow. Is he going to, let's say, be apprehended in some fashion?
Yeah, soon.
Okay. That makes me feel better. And like I said, I'm very disappointed and sorry because not that I really like the show or whatever, but it's just the idea. It crushes my heart that, these poor kids and the parents loved him and he didn't deserve it. It's just not right, you know.
Yeah,
It's called acting. So,
they're good at it. That's why they get
okay.
paid big bucks.
Anything else you can tell us that I haven't asked?
Not that I'm aware of, but if people have questions I did not answer, you can put them into the comments.
Thank you so much, Deanna. I appreciate your time.
Of course.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.